Yo, plug me in. Plug me in to the STEM Plug podcast.
Welcome to Ep.7 of the STEM Plug podcast. I am your host, Rich Novated, and here at the STEM Plug podcast, we plug you in with innovators and entrepreneurs within the STEM space. And today is no different. We have another amazing guest that's doing some amazing things in the STEM space. Someone that I'm definitely, inspired from daily. We have DrNEE in the building.
What up, man?
From STEMedia. Come on, man.
Yo, how you doing,
STEMedia.
man? Hey, can I dap you up? I don't know.
Bro,
I feel like I need
bro.
to dap you up real quick.
Bro.
We here.
Come on, man.
Right across from each other. What's going on?
Man, this is dope.
Pleasure's
I really
mine.
appreciate you coming out to the STEM Plug podcast today. How you feeling?
I'm feeling good, man. Always happy to support my fellow STEM brethren, fellow engineer,
Yeah.
fellow, STEM media colleague, you know what I'm saying? So,
Sure.
thanks for having me.
We making STEM cool, right?
Oh, man, you already know. It's already cool. We just letting people know about it. You know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? There you
Exactly.
go. Yeah.
There we go. So that's something that I really love about your brand, right? So that's plug in, right?
Mhm.
STEMedia.
Yeah.
Amazing. But we have STEMedia, but we gotta go back because you got an amazing resume, right?
Uh-huh.
So tell me about your journey from you were a NASA researcher.
Yeah.
Let's dive into
So
that.
yeah, man. Thanks for the amazing adjective you gave me on the resume. So I started getting introduced to what wasn't called STEM, at least to my knowledge at the time, engineering, by my father. It was an opportunity when I was in high school to apply for this NASA summer research apprenticeship. So like it was basically high schoolers getting an opportunity to go to NASA and like say that they rocket scientists, but we really just doing little stuff here and there. But I applied for it. It was an engineering internship. I loved it, bro. So much so that even though they had me just working on a website, and I still was wearing that badge like a legit rocket scientist, I volunteered the next summer, and that led to an opportunity to intern in my college experience, led to an actual part-time job, and then even allowed me to have my master's degree in the first year of my Ph.D. paid for. So that being said, I was at NASA for over 8 years, and I was able to see a number of things. This was at the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, and was able to do a lot of things, predominantly of which was like structural health monitoring and, making sure sensors are properly embedded and working together with certain materials.
Wow. So okay, we can't leave that point. You said you worked at NASA, and then that plugged you into your graduate studies.
Yeah, man, it definitely did. And this is the power of connections, I'm going to tell you. So, like, I applied for that high school program, and it was ran by, I think, like 2 or 3 ladies. And this one lady, this black lady that was so phenomenal, she had a lot of other talents as well. I actually ran into her years later when I was about to graduate from my undergrad. And so that's when she informed me that there was like a graduate fellowship program that NASA was doing that would pay for like up to 3 years of graduate school. And so really her remembering me from high school, running into me into like this little cafeteria restaurant area, asked me to apply. I applied. And sure enough, that opened the door for grad school, because at the time I was just like, let me get a job, let me make some money. But to be honest with you, it was the Great Recession at the time. And not only that, like I wasn't really thinking about PhD, but I said to myself, hey, if I'm going to get going, I'm going to go, let's keep it moving. Let's see how far this thing can run.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you study for your PhD?
Yeah, so civil engineering was my degree. I did a bachelor's in civil engineering and applied mathematics. My master's also was in civil engineering. And so my PhD, which brought me to Raleigh, North Carolina State University, was actually a more specific area known as structural engineering and mechanics. That was my PhD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a amazing background. Structural engineering. Let's plug in on structural engineering.
Plug it
right?
in.
You give me a lot of information about like bridges, right?
Right.
And different things that you're building
Yep.
with these bridges. So what role would you say that kind of technology plays within bridge design?
Yeah. So to bridge the gap really quick, so NASA is more aerospace engineering.
Uh-huh.
When I got into my PhD program, my research was around bridge design, the same concepts from NASA. So that led to like a career of about 7-8 years, specifically as a bridge design engineer. And in terms of technology, man, there are just a number of things. You got the software that we're designing with. You have obviously the ways that load testing How do we test the strength of concrete? How do we test the durability of an actual bridge, actual structure? But I think one of my favorite technological implementations has to be, again, the area that connects to my research, which is, using sensors that are embedded or other what we call non-destructive technology, tech, to be able to determine the health or the condition of an actual bridge or actual material. And so we do a number of things like, thermography, where you heat up a structure and then you use this thermography or this thermal camera to see where are there hot spots on the surface. And what that does, it lets you know that, hey, there may be a void or a gap or a hole there, because a gap actually holds heat much longer. And so that thermal camera allows you to say, okay, let's go investigate this area. Let's tap on it, see how hollow it sounds. Maybe we can test some things. And so that's actually pretty good. So non-destructive technology. Another example of that would be ultrasonics, which is like really, really high sound waves that are too high for the human ear, that will be excited or applied to a surface of a structure. And then there will be like another receiver sensor that, what we do is what they call pitch catch. So one sensor is like pulsating it at very high frequencies, and another sensor is actually picking up those frequencies. And the difference between what we know we're pulsating at and what it picks up at the sensor, at the receiver, lets you to know, it gives you some indication of how the material in between those sensors is, right? So it also lets you know, okay, there may be a void or a hole or a crack or whatever the case may be. Man, I can go on and on, but there's like a whole suite of technology known as non-destructive evaluation tools.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm heavy on is just collaborating.
Man.
Such as, we've collaborated on different things, and within STEM, collaboration is important, right? What is the role that you would say collaboration and teamwork kind of plays in the process of bridge designing?
Absolutely, man. So everything we do, everything we design starts with some information that we had to get from somebody else. So, we have geotechnical engineers who their job is simply to analyze and determine the state of the soil or the ground that we're about to build on. And so they do tests like, how condensed is it? How deep is bedrock? Is this predominantly clay? Is it predominantly, sand? Like, what are we dealing with? It gives us a whole breakdown of the profile. And it also analyzes it tells us where this was analyzed. And so we take that information and say, okay, how much can this particular soil bear? How strong is it? What is its bearing capacity? How much do we expect our structure to settle when we know we want to build something? So that right there by itself, right? It's like collaboration. We have to collaborate with them to even get our starting point. And then we're going through the process of, we as structural engineers trying to make sure we pick the right sizes of materials, the right material. We do steel. Are we going to do concrete? Are we going to do wood? Like, what are we going to do? How are we going to size it? How long we need to be? And this is happening kind of simultaneously as we're dealing with, transportation engineers that have to think about how many cars are we going to expect on this way? How many lanes do we need? Like, how can this thing be properly serviceable? And so this is just one big collaborative process, right? Because even after that, you got to get into the construction workers that got to take our plans and what we design and actually begin to build it. Man, it's like one big teamwork, right? And so collaboration is huge. And so there's no way a person can approach this field or really any field and say, I'm just going to be the best at knowing how to do this. I don't want to talk to people. Just leave me alone. You know what I mean? I don't want to collaborate. Without collaboration, you're limited in terms of the size and scope of your projects.
Come on, bro. That's a bar, bro.
That's facts.
That's a bar. That's definitely facts.
Appreciate it, man.
I was really so interested in just diving in a little bit about, bridges, because I know various of people that are scared to actually drive over bridges, right?
Yeah.
So I really wanted to kind of it's amazing that you have this background and the knowledge of, how this even, goes into everything, right?
Yeah.
So what are the, when you're designing a bridge, how do you have to approach it to so a bridge can withstand like different weather conditions?
That's a good
stuff
question.
like that.
I get asked that a lot, man. So here's the thing, I know people are nervous, but we do design these bridges for situations more extreme than your little Toyota Corolla. I promise you. And so what happens is we have to analyze two primary types of weights or loads is what we call them. There's live loads, which is the cars and stuff that's going to be temporary, that's going to go over it just kind of at different points. Then there's dead loads, which is the weight of the structure itself, the barriers that are going to fall on it. You even get into other loads, environmental loads, such as you pointed out, the snow loads or the rain or whatever the case may be, right? Earthquake. And what we do is we apply like factors on these things. So we bump them up in some cases and make it even larger. In some cases we say, okay, let's not look at the average rainfall, but let's look at what we call a 100-year flood, a type of rainfall that's only going to happen once in every 100 years, maybe a 50-year flood, right? Because we don't want to over-design. But the thing that I'm pointing out is that we're looking at these very, very, I would say, unlikely scenarios where we could say we have a very high reliability on, again, just the typical trucks and the typical cars and the typical use of the pedestrians that may be walking across it. Now, with that being said, though, we do have to make sure that we do it in a way that it stands the test of time. Because when you first design it, you may say, oh, this thing is like, very, very reliable. But over time, you begin to look at, okay, is this dropping below, how much lower than the original design strength is this at now because of the fatigue? And so the truth of the matter is there is a problem with our bridges from a standpoint of they are beyond their standard design. A lot of them are designed beyond their standard design life. That doesn't mean they're at risk of falling down, though. They're no longer as serviceable, which sometimes could just mean, hey, it used to only need 2 lanes, but so many people are coming this way, we need 4 lanes now. So that means that is also not, it's beyond its service life or whatever. So there is a high need for rehabilitation and repair in our country, but, we post bridges and say that you need to limit the weight of the bridges long before it happens. And in most cases, if a bridge collapses, it's not because we were just clueless as engineers in most cases. A lot of times it's because recommendations were not heeded for a very long time. You know what I mean?
Okay. So it seems like you have a lot of fun experiences, within, designing bridges. Do you have any, memorable experiences or achievements that you have?
As a bridge
designing?
engineer?
Yeah.
I always point to this project I did where I was able to implement my Ph.D. research. Because it's funny, man. When you're doing a Ph.D., it's like the joke is, maybe 2 people are going to read it. You and then, maybe your advisor or something like that. And then it goes into this, repository, never to be seen again. But I was fortunate enough to be able to apply some of my Ph.D. research to an actual bridge off the coast of North Carolina. And it was actually an opportunity to strengthen a certain part of the bridge that was a way that they designed it, decades ago, that didn't really have the same design in modern cases. So I was able to apply. This is a bridge going off the coast of North Carolina to a landmass known as Emerald Isle. I don't know if you heard of it. And so, I was able to work on that. Even before I got my license, I had a senior engineer that served as an engineer of record. But I was just happy because I was able to apply my actual research to my work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's dope, bro. But, man, you shared some amazing things within, all of your designing within bridges, your education, getting your Ph.D.
Yeah.
And that sounds great, right? But now we have STEMedia, right? You have an amazing background. Some people will just be happy with just, I'm a structural engineer. I'm building bridges.
Yeah.
You got STEMedia, right?
Yeah.
So tell us, what really inspired you to start STEMedia?
Man, thank you for the plug, my brother. Pun intended. Thank you for the plug. I tell you, STEMedia started when I was in grad school as an original, personal extracurricular activity. I remember I entered into this video contest called Engineering Stay With It. It was sponsored by Intel, MTV, Facebook was a part of it, a couple of other folks, where I did this video on campus showing the day in the life of an engineering student and why I'm staying with it, and really the course of getting a bad grade to trying to get close to a good grade, right, or a good grade. And that was something that was successful. I won the National Grand Prize. And so word became, hey, there's this engineering student that has a media company that's talking about engineering. And honestly, I didn't have a media company at the time. I did. But that was the word. And so as people started reaching out, I said, I guess I should start making a media company. And what was originally a part-time video production company, I carried it into my workforce even after graduation. Got to build a community online through various initiatives, serve various professors, organizations, and schools, to the point that, a little over 2 years ago, I said, you know what? I'm really passionate about this. Just as much as I was passionate about engineering, but I think this is something I want to do full time. And so now in my career, where STEMedia was originally my part-time side hustle and I was doing engineering, they're kind of switched places where I'm still involved in engineering as a professional, independent. But engineering or STEMedia rather, is my full time, man. And we're at this point an edtech and media company that serves higher ed institutions and corporations to help them attract, engage, educate, and empower STEM talent, young STEM talent,
bro.
Yep.
That's amazing, bro. All right, so let's plug in some more, right? Give us some examples of some of the creative content and career development services that STEMedia provides.
Yeah, man. One of my favorite is this concept or this program rather known as Engineering Your Purpose. And we've been able to offer this in a number of workshops. We also have an online course. And what this particular program and curriculum is all about is helping students to identify suitable careers in STEM. Because here's the thing, you get the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? And a lot of people say, hey, STEM is the way to go. But like, STEM is broad. You know what I mean? Like, there are a lot of different things. And so ultimately, it takes someone through a process of saying, what am I good at? What do I like? Why does it matter? Getting really honed in on certain core values, and through the process, sort of narrowing down potential careers a person could go into, whether it be tech or, natural sciences or anything related to mathematics. But yeah, man, that's one of my favorite. We've been able to create some TV shows, a web series, rather with PBS. That's been really cool. PBS Digital Studios.
That's not small, man. That's not small.
Oh man,
come on, man. PBS, that's not small.
Yeah, hey, well, part of our childhood for sure, right? Watching all those hit shows, hit science communication type shows. Yeah, so we've been able to become a player in that market as well.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things I love about, STEMedia, like you said, we're educating the people, right?
Yeah.
But you're bringing in entertainment as well,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
So how do you go about you're educating, but you're bringing that entertainment in at the same time to, just draw that interest? How do you go about, connecting those two?
I mean, the term is what? You heard edutainment? Have you heard that term? Basically combining
break it down, bro. Come on.
It's support magnitude, as they call it. That combines the word entertainment and education, edutainment. And it's really all about not getting so hung up on, hey, I really want them to know this. Because if you start with what you really want people to know and you're not even taking any time of consideration for what they may find interesting or relatable or interesting or curious about, then you really could just talk and people just glaze over. We all know those times we start explaining. I've been on a number of podcasts. Shout out to people watching this. Hopefully you're not glazed over and I didn't lose you talking about all the engineering. But I'm just playing. I know everyone is with us. But ultimately, you want to be able to find something that a person can resonate with and then sort of reverse engineer into that or from that information that you feel is important, whether it be science or engineering or math related. And so that's what it's all about, man. You can use humor. You can use fashion. You can use pop culture. You can use a number of things to engage people with topics. It's sort of like putting the medicine in the applesauce. You know what I'm saying? Like when you growing up, you got to get some medicine.
I like that.
And they're like, yo, the baby's like, no, I'm not taking it. I got daughters. They're like, I don't take it, but let's see if we can put it in some applesauce. They might just get a little more of that vitamin C that they didn't want to take by itself. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's dope, bro. Yeah, man. Like, one of the things I like to always say, like, people see everything that you built your brand to now, but people don't see you when you in the gym, you working, you put in that work, right? And you told me that, you said that now STEMedia this is your full time. You doing this full thing, right?
Yes, my brother.
So I know what are some of the challenges that you face kind of, really running STEMedia? What have you had to overcome any challenges?
Let me tell you, man, I literally was just talking to somebody about this before I came here. Entrepreneurship in and of itself is a new realm. Business is a craft. And oftentimes when we start things, we start because we're passionate about the thing. Like, I'm passionate about painting, so I'm gonna start an art business. Or I'm passionate about making videos, so I'm gonna make a video production company. And like that's cool and all, but like in order for you to be an entrepreneur and this to be the way you make your living, you also got to learn all the auxiliary things connected to the thing to sustain it. Sales, marketing, accounting, legal. Like, there's just so much outside of it. And I think the challenge for me early on was understanding that, hey, if I really want this to be a business, I gotta at least become acquainted enough. Not saying I gotta do everything myself, but acquainted enough and knowledgeable enough so that this thing just become a starving artistry, if you will. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the challenges. And so ultimately, you have to make money. And when you're not, when money isn't the most important thing, it is an important thing. You know what I'm saying? Like money isn't everything, but money is something. You know what I'm saying? So that's probably one of the bigger things I would say to anybody who's probably hearing my story and be like, oh, yeah, I'm about to do that too. Well, think about it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I used to say to people who also ask about PhD. Like, yeah, like from the outside, as you put it, looking in, it could be like, oh, man, this is great. That's how I want my life to be. But, there's some sacrifices. There's some patience. There's some stuff that you didn't want to do that you have to do so you can do the stuff you want to do. That's all a part of it. Yeah.
Nah, that's dope. And I always like to say it's a difference between a hustle and a business, right?
Yeah.
Some people are like, yeah, I got this, I got that, but they're not structuring themselves as a business.
Yeah.
And then you fall all apart, right?
Yeah.
So
system.
Yeah. But all right,
system.
so engineer, you're educating as well, doing different public speaking, STEMedia. How do you balance all of this? What's your concepts?
So I gotta give a shout out to my wife. Shout out, babe. Appreciate you.
Definitely plug that in.
You got to be able to have the right relationships, and for me, it starts with my spouse. I have 3 girls. She's been holding it down, but she's also a professional herself. She's a teacher, so she's not necessarily, working from home or staying home. But I bring her up to say that you have to make sure that your relationships, whether it be your spouse, your partner, whether it be your boss if you're starting something on the side. Or whether it just be whoever is depending on you for something, they have to be understanding. And their understanding goes a long way, because when you talk about balancing it all, it's never going to be perfectly balanced at any specific time. Like in the micro, it may seem like, oh, I'm doing a lot. I'm staying up late, I don't have a whole lot of time for this, that, and the other. And then another phase, you'll be like, hey, I'm cutting off. I'm about to spend a whole lot of time, recharging, self-care. And over time, right, you start getting the balance. But you need that understanding so that when things are out of balance, there is some grace, there's some patience, there's some commitment that allows things to rebalance as they need to, as things ebb and flow. So I say it all to say I'm not balancing it all, but I am balancing it all. You know what I mean?
I love it. Yeah. That honesty is key. Yeah, man. Yeah. Just having that family structure at home is so important. Facts. Right? So what's the future goals and aspirations of STEMedia? Where do you see it going next?
You know what, man, that's a good question too, because people ask me how do I envision it. So we are obviously foundation has been media production. We've been able to also expand to experiences. I public speak and I do things like that, workshops. But we're also delving into this area of edtech, which is a subscription-based platform service that allows people to access a lot of the content that we produce, in the past in one-off fashion, but can make it available to their students or their employees so they can continue to upskill, and also develop as professionals and in their career to, again, increase their retention, to help them to progress in success and have promotions, and even find the roles that are right for them. We want to be a brand that is, the ESPN of STEM. That's what we want to do, right? We want to be the MTV for pop culture, right? For STEM, rather. We want to be the Disney. What Disney did to imagination, we want to do the STEM. You feel me? So that's basically what we're trying to do with STEMedia. It's a role, obviously, again, there's a process and a progress and growth that needs to take place from the business standpoint. But if you ask me about my vision, I can paint a big picture for you. But that's what we want to do, man.
I see it, brother. I see it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I appreciate you plugging in and everything, Dr. NEE. How can our listeners stay in touch with you and continue to plug in with everything you got going on?
Shout out to the listeners. Look, hey, you got a nickname for your audience yet? You got to give them a nickname. That's a
good one. I was thinking about the pluggies.
The pluggies. Hey,
still working on that.
Write in and let us know if you think the pluggies or if you have a better idea. So my man Rich can workshop that a little bit. But no, man, STEMedia. That's STEMedia, one word with one M. That's our name. STEMedia.com is our website. You can also check us out at STEMedia on Twitter, at STEMedia on Instagram. You can search STEMedia on LinkedIn. We've got a page there. STEM.media is how we are identified on Facebook. It was the only thing available, right? Okay. But yeah, that's it. And then if you want to check me out, I'm Nehemiah at STEMedia. I have a website, NehemiahMabry.com. if you're interested in anything, I individually can provide. But yeah, that's it, man.
Okay. And this is the STEM Plug podcast. So I also need you to plug in your podcast as well. The
STEMedia podcast. Yep.
There we go.
STEMedia podcast available on wherever you get your podcasts. We also have a YouTube channel, so be sure to like and subscribe. Right after you like, share, and subscribe this particular podcast, the STEM Plug, come over to STEMedia and do the same for some of our content.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I appreciate you, Dr. NEE.
Yeah.
For all of our listeners, stay tuned.
Appreciate
Me
you.
and Dr. NEE definitely have some more collaborations. We got some big stuff coming for y'all soon.
Indeed.
So stay tuned.
Yeah.
The entertainment and STEM is coming. So I appreciate y'all plugging in. Stay tuned.